or the MOWAA paid for this said land? Was there any money that was paid to acquire it, or was it gifted?
To all here present, this is a public hearing which will also double as a fact-finding stroke investigative hearing on the Museum of West African Arts project. I want to, on behalf of the members of the ad hoc committee on this side of the divide, make it very clear that this is not a witch hunt by any stretch of the imagination. This committee's sole mandate is to establish, to unravel, to ascertain the status of the Museum of West African Projects here in Edo State. We are going to be calling representatives of relevant critical stakeholders to make presentations this morning. I would want to urge, and very firmly too, that whenever any stakeholder is making his or her presentation, there should be no interruption of any form whatsoever. No matter what anyone feels about what has been said, we must establish the basic principles of decorum, decency, because why we are here today is to establish firmly the entrenched principles of fair hearing, to give everyone ample opportunity to speak to the issue at hand. We are going to commence. I would like at this junction to invite the distinguished learned senior advocate of Nigeria, representing MOWAA, as you earlier introduced yourselves, to make your presentation on behalf of the board. Thank you.
Well, I took a brief day before yesterday when I saw a person served on my claims, which were brought to my knowledge. Which were brought to my knowledge. They brought a customers filed by Chief Osaroliga President and soon I claim Museum of West Africa. And I want to give that the case being in court, because they filed an action in court which they served on me. And it was yesterday night I got this in the evening, yesterday. I got this letter, this is copy Secretary, that the case is important, but it was in further High Court 1. It serves.
Thank you very much. I have listened very carefully, sir, to what you have to say. Let me start first of all from the originating summons which you have so kindly and graciously given us a copy of. If you look at the parties to this suit, you have one, Chief Osaroliga, the Basel of the Kingdom, and one, the Museum of West African Art Limited, two, the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. There is nowhere on the face of this document where the Edo State government is a party to this suit. Secondly, the Edo State House of Assembly is not a party to this suit. And I will go further to state, thankfully, we have a very distinguished and eminent senior advocate in your own self here. The constitutional powers of the Edo State House of Assembly to investigate any matter whatsoever with regard to matters to which we have appropriated monies belonging to the people of Edo State is constitutional, is sacrosanct. It is not something any judge can even sit in court and say to the Edo State House of Assembly, you can no longer perform your functions as legislators. It is a, let me use local balance now, no-go area. To that extent, I would not say you have made an application for adjournment, no. I think you are just bringing to our knowledge the fact that your clients briefed you very late. But even in that regard, sir, I would like to say that with every sense of responsibility, your clients have not been fair to you. We initially scheduled to hold this public hearing about a week ago. The reason why we are all gathered here today is because your clients wrote to us appealing to extend the time by 1 week. And not only did they do that, your client, MOWAA, picked today's date. Ordinarily, as a House of Assembly, we could have gone ahead to say we want a specific date at that date. But we bent over backwards to ensure that there will be no cry of foul play or denial of fair hearing. And agreed to today, fixed by your client. Therefore, sir, you must agree with me, and I am sure that it will be completely out of place for your client to come this morning to inform us today, the 20th of November, about a case that was filed on the 7th of November. A case that was already brought to their knowledge before they even wrote us and said to us, they are coming today. Sir, please hold on, so that it doesn't look like we're in an argument. For avoidance of any doubt whatsoever, we will proceed with the hearing today. We have done to today at the instance of your client. This is simply a fact-finding public hearing. And I do not, and I'm sure my honorable colleagues on this side of the divide cannot see what your client stands to lose by simply stating its own side of the story. I have not seen what danger they might encounter. And also, sir, in rounding up, I also do not see in any way whatsoever the nexus between the Edo State government, the Edo State House of Assembly, and the suit in question. So that will be our response to your presentation. I do not know if the lady seated beside you is also from MOWAA, she's from your chambers. So do I take it that MOWAA has no presentation to make? Well, let me also let you know, sir. Again, your client has not been fair to you. Your client, MOWAA, already has before this committee a detailed response stating their side of the story. what they were expected to come here to do, sir. Like you rightly, hello sir, like you know of course in a regular court of law, this is not a regular court of law, but in a regular court of law, when you file pleadings and you do not come forward to give evidence with relation to those pleadings, then let's see if you know what happens to the pleadings that you have filed. The essence of asking MOWAA to come was to come and give life and flesh to what we can tell their pleadings, which are already before this panel. So, sir, it would be good that if you still contact them to come, we are just kicking off. Let them come and adopt what they have already presented before the house. So we move to another stakeholder while we give you an opportunity to consult your clients with regard to the way forward, sir. Thank you. Representative of Edo GIS.
My name is Dr. Managing Director of Edo GIS. I'm here strictly to give a sequence of land registrations on the MOWAA, so to say, the history of the sequence of registrations. Before now, Honorable Chairman, the issue of MOWAA have been raised on the state before 2022. In my office, we had about 2 files for MOWAA. One was for the proposed site, the location of their office along Exotic, where they acquired the past administration. I gave them the previous office of the Ministry of Agri, but the General's office. That was where the first people gave them. And to shortly after them, nothing was done with that file again. The file was just abandoned. The other existing file that has life in the office had the first registration for Legacy Restoration Trust Limited. The address of the Legacy Restoration Trust Limited is number 4, Odidon Drive, in Lagos. They applied for a CFO for 2.34 hectares of land. That was on the 21st of August 2021. This 2.34 hectares of land was on its current location of or let me say it's on the location of the central hospital. 2.3 hectares of land was acquired or the RCO for 2.3 hectares of land in 2021. Then on the 30th of August, the same Legacy Restoration Trust Limited got an RCO for 3.8 hectares of land. Then in October 2022, MOWAA surrendered its CFO, which was not in our system, but we just know that they had a CFO, which they rendered to Legacy Trust, the Restoration Trust Limited. Apparently, what is what was that MOWAA gifted them all their land and liability assets on that same land, so that everything the CFO in that was for 6,600 hectares of land. I don't know whether the declaration is clear to you.
Yes.
First of all, it was Legacy Trust Limited.
The presentation to bring on this side of the environment, or you will share the trust when you are true.
You have it already presented them. I just wanted to make a sequence out of them. So I can make
that's fine.
the better.
Thank you very much.
All the details are in what we already said to you. What I'm not saying is only in November 2022, MOWAA officially got a CFO for 6.210 hectares. Yes. On that same premises, where you have the specialist hospital, at the end of the day, after these 6.2 hectares, the central hospital, which has been existing since 1904, was now left with less than 1 hectare, less than 1 hectare, or let us say 1 hectare, to be on the comfortable side. The MOWAA got 6.2 hectares and left barely 1 hectare for the hospital to exist or to use. And in the recent development, we discovered that the hospital was having problems of accommodation. Visitors, they cannot accommodate their vehicles. They also wanted to do more developments. They wanted to build mortuary and other offices. There was no space for them. And they kept complaining because they have been on that land since 1904. All of a sudden now they are now being threatened to leave their land.
So if I understand what you are saying, yes. In essence, the central hospital was the ongoing title that makes sense.
So yes, they have the traditional title. They and the central hospital provides 7.03 hectares.
Please go ahead.
The central hospital owned the title to that land since 1904.
Thank you.
Was that title at any time revoked?
No, it was never revoked.
The earlier title was it revoked at any time?
It was revoked.
So why would they be issuing other titles?
Okay, the title that was actually proved to be revoked is the C of O. The central hospital didn't have a C of O. They just had this traditional title that was given to them at the colonial time.
Yes, was that one was not to share from the people now?
To give good land.
The central hospital.
Yet it gave them the title, the right to own the land. They owned the land, but there was no revocation before all.
What I'm saying is that initial title of the central hospital, was it at any time revoked by the state?
It was not revoked officially, but when they were now giving titles to portions of the land, in principle, it has been revoked. But on paper, it was not revoked.
I think there's into an area of pure law. There are several forms of title to land, of which a certificate of occupancy is only one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of Benin City in general is that those traditional titles that existed from time immemorial are very effective titles of ownership. Don't forget that the Land Use Act only came into being in 1978. So I think flowing from what the majority leader just said, the question then would be, thankfully we have a learned here and we have professors at the law here. Can you issue a certificate of occupancy over an existing title when the initial one had not been revoked? The answer to that question is no, it is not possible.
I said it is possible.
As awesome as the powers of the governor are, that is why the governor needs to go through a process of revocation before he can acquire land.
Yeah.
So for example, if it was your private land, the governor needs for what is normally called overriding public interest. Before the governor would disabuse you of your property, there is a procedure.
There's a process, yes.
It is not just at the whim or caprice of the governor. I need that point to be established. That was why the majority leader of theirs asked you, was the initial title revoked?
Okay, I get your point. The title was not revoked.
The title was not revoked, yes.
This question also goes to you, my brother and friend. the government or the MOWAA paid for this said land? Was there any money that was paid to acquire it, or was it gifted to MOWAA?
There was no money, no financial
transaction.
In fact, the mandatory, there are some payments that ought to be made in the process of acquiring the certificates, processing the land. All of them were waived. But so they didn't get their money.
So apart from not getting that initial report, no money was also paid for that land.
No money was paid in any form. No compensation was paid. MOWAA came and took 6.2 hectares out of the 7.303 hectares, leaving them with barely 1 hectare to operate on. But in October 2024, 1 month after the election, MOWAA came to the office to reorganize their CFO and gifted 2.8 hectares to the hospital and 4.3 hectares. What I mean is that from the 6.2 hectares they reduced it to 4.3 hectares. Apparently, we don't know why they did that. They now have to adjust their occupation to a smaller size so that the hospital can have just 2.8 hectares. But this one came after the election of 2024. Apparently, for us, some people believe they were just trying to rise the wrongs by themselves, because it was like frustrating the hospital that has been on this for over 800 years, trying to push them out, and it gave flesh to the people that was going around that. The intention was actually to demolish the entire hospital and take the issue to occupy the land. So after the election of 2024, 1 month after, there was a turnaround. We came back and gave the hospital 2.3 hectares and the other 4.6 hectares. So what we are trying to say, so the government also found it that because of the constant complaints and it's not the government that built infrastructure for hospitals, other agencies are also interested. They want to develop for central hospital, there was no space. So the current administration felt that it would be very unwise if you allow MOWAA, which was also appearing as a private concern, a private agency, to take over the land of a public organization like the central hospital that has lived for over 100 years and also has become a heritage for the state. On that basis, the current administration decided to revoke the license of MOWAA, so that MOWAA can have 2.0